All right, kiddos, now we're going to look at question number 6. So if you missed question number 6, you should be watching this video. Or if you wanted to get more information about number 6, you could be watching it as well. So first things first, we need to look at what the question is asking. So question number 6 says, what is the best concluding statement to add to the end of this selection? So concluding statement, concluding. When we're looking for a concluding statement, we're looking for a statement that brings the paper to a close. Basically, we're looking for the end. We're looking to end our paper. We don't want to give any more details. We don't want to explain anything else. We just want to bring it to a close or to an end. Okay, so that's what concluding statement means. How do we end this paper? Okay, so why are we ending the paper? Well, what is the purpose of the ending? Well, when we're coming up with an ending, we want to say why. Why was this paper written? What is the purpose? What is the main thing that the author wanted me to learn? So there are 2 questions I'm going to ask myself. Question number 1, Lena is the person who wrote this paper, right? So I'm going to write, why did Lena write this paper? My conclusion should answer that question. What is the main thing that Lena wanted me to learn? What does she want me to learn? Okay. Once I figure that out, then I ask myself another question. So first, I'm going to go find out, what did Lena write about? Lena wrote about Francita Alvarez, an important person from Texas history. Okay, so I know that Lena wants me to learn about an important person from Texas history. So my second question is, why is Francita Alvarez important to Texas history? Why is she so important to Texas history? Again, my conclusion is going to answer that. So when I'm looking at my answer choices, I'm asking myself, why did Lena write this paper? What does she want me to learn? And I'm asking myself, why is Francita Alvarez important to Texas history? Why? Remember, all of that information comes from my background information, right? My background information. Now, I'm not going to read this entire thing. I'm just kind of going to go ahead and just kind of skim through it. You should have read it one time at least and did some annotations so that you know the flow of the paper. As usual, an expository piece of writing has an introduction, it has a conclusion, and of course, it has body paragraphs in the middle. So the introduction is where my central idea is. So the central idea says, we do know, however, that the woman known as the Angel of Goliad risked her life to save dozens of brave men. So we know that Lena is telling us that Francita risked her life to save dozens of men. Okay. The first body paragraph, or our second paragraph, it tells me how it all started. How did Francita even get to Goliad? She was there with her husband. Her husband was a leader of some of the soldiers, the Mexican soldiers. He was an officer. How did she help them? Right? She loosened the ropes, making the men more comfortable. She convinced those soldiers to, loosen those ropes on those Texas prisoners, and so that they would be more comfortable. Lastly, how did she risk her life? Well, she actually visited the prisoners and she helped them escape. And had she been found out, she could have also been killed herself. So she prevented them from being killed, but put herself in danger to possibly be killed had she gotten caught. And so then, of course, this last paragraph is my conclusion. So the sentence I'm going to add from my answer choices is going to go into this conclusion paragraph, right? So let's read the conclusion. Francita's kindness was remembered by those she saved. They called her the Angel of Goliad. She risked her life for others. Francita was kind to people who were her enemies. Okay. So I want to add one of these sentences to this paragraph. Okay. I want to add one of those sentences to this paragraph. And of course, it should all be answering the question why. The sentence that I choose has to be a summary. Okay. This is a summary. So basically, one sentence tells me what all 24 sentences are about. And it answers the question, why did Lena write this paper? What does she want me to learn? Why is Francita Olives important to Texas history? All right, so we're going to go through our answer choices. It says, well, F says, she also helped Texas prisoners and Matamoros following the Battle of San Jacinto. Now, this may very well be true. It says that she also helped, right? This may very well be true, but it's not the main thing that Lena wanted me to learn. It's not the reason why Lena wrote this paper. It's also not why Francita was important to Texas history. They're talking about another battle here, and the whole time we're really just talking about Goliad, right? So this is not my answer because it's really just another detail. This detail could actually, because it talks about her helping, it could actually go into this paragraph 3, how she helped, right? All right. G says, after Texas won its independence, she returned to Mexico City with her husband. Now, that sentence does sound like it's at the end because it's like after the independence was won. That was the whole purpose of that Goliad battle. So I'm going to put a dot next to that because it does sound like it's at the end. That's something I would say at the end. After Texas won its independence, she returned to Mexico City with her husband. So I'm going to hold on to that because it does sound like I'm bringing it to a close. It does sound like I'm at the end, but I'm not ready to settle on that one yet because I haven't looked at H and J, right? So let's look at H. Some people think her first name might actually have been Francisca, Panchita, or Panchetta, and that her last name may have been Alvarez or Alvesco, right? So this again does not answer the question, why did Lena write this paper? It also doesn't answer why is Francita Olives important to Texas history. It doesn't answer that. This again is another detail, okay? And this detail is talking about her last name. We're not sure what her name really was, right? So that goes back to the introduction where they tell us we do not know when she was born. We do not know where she is born, right? They tell us that many details of her life are unknown. So this is something else we still don't know. So this is a detail that actually could have gone in the introduction, okay? So again, that is not a conclusion. That is another detail. So that makes me settle on the two answer choices, G and J. So J says, her brave and caring deeds are remembered by people throughout Texas even today. Okay, so deeds, that just means action, right? So she was brave and she has these caring deeds or these caring actions, and people remember it today, even today, right? So this is talking about when we say that we remember something even today, that means it probably happened a long time ago. And if we go back to the article that Lena wrote, we see that this happened in March 1836. So that's like nearly 200 years ago. Okay, almost 200 years ago, this actually happened. So here it is, 2021, and we still are talking about Francita Alvarez, which means we remember her still to this day because of her bravery and her caring actions or her caring deeds, right? So I have to decide which one is a better conclusion, which one is a better summary of why Lena wrote this paper and what she wanted us to learn, and why Francita Olives is important to Texas history. So if I look at it, I would have to say, looking at G, after Texas won its independence, she returned to Mexico City with her husband. This is an ending. I agree. This is absolutely an ending. I would even say it's a conclusion, right? But is it the best conclusion? Remember, we're always looking for the best conclusion. And if I read this, I know that the main thing Lena wanted me to learn was not that she moved back to Mexico City after the Texas won its independence. That wasn't the whole purpose that Lena sat down and told us about Francita Olives. The main reason that she wrote this paper is to let us know that she was brave, and her caring deeds and her actions are still remembered throughout Texas even today, especially seeing that this happened nearly or almost 200 years ago. So the correct conclusion would be J, because it answers the two questions. Why did Lena write this paper? What does she want us to learn? And it also answers, why is Francita Olives important to Texas history? She's not important to Texas history because she returned back to Mexico City with her husband. She's important because she was brave and she was caring, and she helped a lot of people that she really didn't have to help. So she sacrificed herself for people who didn't have anything to do with her. So this particular paper that Lena wrote just further explains to us why Francita Olives was so important.